So, well, we're back. I say we as in myself and you, the viewer. We're back on a topic that, I guess it comes up sometimes in relationships, I guess. You know, you want to have a good foundation of honesty with your partner. I would assume that's in most relationships. I hope all relationships. But, honesty is always the best policy. You know, Even if you might think it's hurting your partner's feelings, but you should owe it to your partner to be honest, I would assume. And one thing that, you think is probably a touchy subject or topic if it ever comes up is your partner's past history of relations as far as how many people they've been with. Um, Now, maybe, some people don't really care how many partners their partner has had previously, like before them. Some people, it's really like a hang up and a deal breaker for them. I wonder, you know, does everybody have like a limit? Is there a certain number that's just too high and unacceptable? Um, does the number of previous partners that your current partner has been with, does that really change like how you feel about them, how you've been relating to them as far as how you guys get along, um, the vibe you guys have with each other, future plans you may have with each other? Does their previous sexual history play a part in how you want to proceed going forward with your partner? It makes me wonder, you know, how different, couples are, relatable to that topic. And, because like the thing, I saw this thing the other day. It was some movie on TV. I forget. I was half asleep, I think. And this guy was like, I guess the girl had told the guy that she had been with like 10 guys previously. And the guy, I didn't expect this coming. The guy was like, only 10? Girl, you're still a virgin. I was half asleep, but it was like the funniest thing that I heard, like in my mind. And, you know, it started to get me thinking, like, there's times where, if a guy tells a girl that he's been with like, three girls, before he's got with his previous or his current partner, um, the girl might think that three is like just way too many. Like, oh, he's been with three girls, and she starts like bringing up like all the different girls that he's been with, even though it's like only three. And I'm not saying three is not a big number, because three could be a really big number to some people. In fact, it is a big number to some people when it comes to that. You know, but at the same time, there's also the other side of the spectrum where, there's certain situations where like a guy to a girl to a guy, however you want to look at it, might look at it as the lower amount of partners they've been with means they're not as experienced in dealing with, certain aspects. Could be, a different variety of things, but you don't want to run that risk sometimes of like, oh yeah, I've been with like 72 different women, or I've had 35 different guys that I've been with, because once you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I love the dialogue, the feedback. um is there a number that's too high, like, or just completely unacceptable? Because you can look at it like, if a girl is with a guy and he's been with like 47 different women, And at least he can say something like, well, yeah, I'm experienced. I've done this and I've done that and I've done the third and the 47th. He's been around the way, so he's got that experience. But the number comes back to him from her, like, that it's like an anvil that hangs over his head of how many different people he's been with. There's a label that comes with that. I think we all know what that label is. I won't say it here. But it's the same thing when it comes to, the woman. And if she's been with like, 24 different guys, before she gets like with her current, partner, and now he's looking at it, some guys, I'm not saying all guys, but some guys could look at it as, well, dang, I'm like number 25 now. Like, am I where the road stops, or am I just, the next one, passing through, as she's, making her way up the mountain kind of thing, because women think that same way too. Like, am I just 36, number 36 on his way up to like the goal of like 80 or something? You never know, but you got to wonder, like, does the number like really make a big difference, or are you better off just not knowing the exact number? Like, if you were to ask, like, have you been with, several, you could say several is like four or more, I guess. So you could say, like, have you been with like several or more? I think these days, most of the time across the board, not all, but most of the time across the board, yeah, most people have been with more than several. And if you're okay with, accepting that, then I guess that's okay. But, you know, it's several or more. It could be four. If you say several, I always use four as several. But if you say like several or more, several could be four, it could be 44, it could be 84. You never know what more of it is. So that's why I said, are you better off not knowing the total number of, previous partners? Like, if, as long as you're getting tested, and you're doing, the safe practices and all that stuff, if you're going to be, relating with each other, then I would think like that's like the best, or monogamous. Hopefully that should be in every relationship. um if that's the case, then, like I said, should the number, really be a big factor? Going back, like, how many would be too many in your mind to deal with, or are you just better off not knowing? Because another situation that had came to my mind was, I think we all remember that movie, American Pie 2, where the character Kevin and his girlfriend from the first movie, they went their separate ways after high school to college, and then they met up again over the summer, and they were asking each other, like, how many people did you hook up with? And they ran some numbers off to each other, but later on, they started talking about the rule of three. If a girl says a certain number, you multiply that number by three, and that's how many guys she's really been with. And if you get a guy who says he's been with a certain amount, you got to divide that by three. So can you really, and obviously this is, it's movie, conjecture, but do you really feel like something like that does play a situation? Like, you're if you're a lady and your guy partner says he's been with like 12 women, maybe it's like really four, if you divide it by three, or divided by two, it's six, kind of thing. So do you feel comfortable with him giving you a high number knowing it's probably lower? Or do you think that he may just be telling you a specific number to assuage your fears, or, insecurities about it, but it's really a higher number and he's just not telling you? I guess for guys, it's the same way. Like, a girl might say, I've only had two boyfriends in my whole life. Yeah, two boyfriends, but that doesn't mean you've only slept with two guys. Or, now, I'm not saying every woman's a liar, but what I'm saying is there are certain times where what we say isn't what is actually the case. I'm not saying like me or anything like that. I'm just saying there are some times where people will fabricate certain details or whatever, and just to try to put their partner at comfort that they're not dealing with somebody who's reckless, or they're just the next person, notch on the bedpost, quote unquote, that they're going to be dealing with, and then you can go forward from there and hopefully have a long lasting relationship. But once you've had that topic of discussion, once you've had that discussion, should that be the end of it? I mean, once you've already conquered that topic, do you bring it up again? Is it fair to bring it up again? Like, if you really connect with somebody, and then you later on decide to ask like how many people they've been with, and they're honest with you, they tell you what the number is, and then it may not be a number that you're comfortable with. Like, you really didn't see yourself being with somebody who has been with that many people prior to you, and now it's like, well, you really like this person, you feel this person, you could be in love with this person already, but that number of people that they've previously been with can be something that in your mind you just cannot get past, and then it starts creating doubt in your mind as you're already deep into this relationship with this person, that what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to go forward with this person because you can get past what you thought was something that you didn't see yourself dealing with? Or is it just you've gotten to this deep level with this person, and then you run into that and you say, you know what, I can't deal with this? But going back to fairness, all this happened before you were with that person. So, like I said, is it fair to hold somebody's prior actions to even meeting you in the first, before you even know this person existed? Is that fair to hold that person accountable for things that they did in the past when you're trying to build a future with this person? A past that had nothing to do with you, but like I said, you're trying to build something to go forward with this person, and now you're hearing about something that they've done with themselves in the past, and you say, oh, I can't deal with that now. Even though it has no lingering effect, it has no bearing on what you two are going to decide to do going forward. The past happened, it is not in the present, and is not going to be in the future. Can you as a partner allow yourself to build past that person's past, kind of thing? So I'm pretty sure there've been situations out there where couples have gotten to a really deep level and they find out something about somebody's past that literally has nothing to do with their current situation or going into the future, and they say, you know what, I don't like that about your past, I can't deal with it, this isn't going to work. After the time that you've invested into being with somebody, the feelings, emotions, money, possibly, you never, just random things that entail going into a relationship. But is that fair? I mean, honestly, is that fair? I, I'll bring up a random situation. There was this is when I was a little bit younger. There was this girl I was dealing with, and I had asked her, like, how many. I don't think until the time I asked her how many different guys she'd been with, but I asked her, like, who were some of the guys that she'd been with, could she remember, like, kind of thing. So I just asked her, like, did you talk to this person or that person, or kind of thing. And she had told me, like, the first guy that she ever kissed, or the first guy that she ever had sex with, and kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. I mean, we've been around the block a couple times, so why am I going to get upset with what I'm hearing? Because at least you're trying to be upfront, and be honest at the time, I thought. And so I mean, get ready for this one. I was hanging out at her house, and she just had this binder that was in her closet, and I thought it was like one of those binders that has like old pictures in it that you can not like, I guess like a photo book, but like it had like plastic in it. So I'm thinking like there's pictures in there. I'm like, oh, let me see some pictures. So I open the binder. It's actually just the very first paper that was that was on that list, or that was in that binder, was a list. And keep in mind, this was a long time ago. I won't say when, but this was a long time ago. And this is way before, we're talking about how the term hit list has entered our lexicon and how it's being used nowadays. But when I opened up this binder and I saw this list, I mean, it was a hit list. And how I deduced that it was a hit list was because the guy that she told me she first kissed and the guy that she told me she first had sex with were two different guys. But the first guy on this list was the first guy that she had sex with, and the first guy that she kissed was like later on down that list. So I guess she made her way back to this guy after they made out or whatever, and never took it to that level earlier on, and then later on maybe I guess it came full circle to some degree. But and then I go down and I'm just going down this list. I mean, this is a list, man. This is like a grocery list kind of thing. This is a bucket list, whatever you want to call it. But I was on the list. I mean, thankfully, I would hope I was on the list because I had done what I had needed to do to get on the list, I guess you could say. But I was fairly well down the list, and I really don't feel comfortable saying what number I was, but it was a number that if I would have known that I would have ended up being that number, even if that first day, this wasn't the first day I met her, but let's just say I saw this list on the first day and then I saw that list, and then if I'm trying to, get in and that's the number I would have ended up at, I wouldn't have even done that. Like I just, that number would have like completely blown my head off, up front. But I've already, jumped into the jungle. Now you gotta, you're in there. You gotta fight your way out of it, basically. And I was just like, I think the air went out of my lungs when I saw that, because I was just like, wow, like girls can like really be with that many people. And I'm not saying all girls are like extremely promiscuous or anything like that, but the thing that threw me off was that she never really, okay, in all fairness, she never told me how many total people she had been with, but she made it seem like it was well below that number, because I guess you could say she did kind of lie to me, because she told me that the only guys that she's ever done that with were boyfriends. And I'm looking at this list like no girl ever has that many boyfriends like in a lifetime. So, um, you know, I was just like, wow. Now, in all fairness, she told me this before, you know, a certain level we had got to. But at this stage, it was just like, oh man, like, what am I going to do here? Like, I really don't feel comfortable with this. And it started lingering in my head, like, more and more that, wow, this is just crazy. Like, okay, maybe she likes me and I like her, but man, like, I'm quite certain that based on that, and keep in mind, I said I was a lot younger too, but there was some doubt in my mind that I don't think I'm where the road stops, because look at this, you see the list, and eventually I asked her about it. She didn't think I would, because I don't even think she thought I would find that list. But I mean, and luckily I was the last name on the list. There was no entries on it, after me, because we were still currently engaging, but not engaged as like engaged to be married, but like engaging in, you know, in a relation type of thing. But, you know, So I was okay with that, I guess. I mean, if I would have saw like three names after mine, I'd have been like, fuck. But, you know, I confronted her on it. I was like, okay, remember how you told me that, such and such was the first guy you kissed, the other guy was the second guy, whatever. She was like, yeah. And so I was sitting on the binder, and so I lifted up and I pulled it out, and, you know, I was like, so this right here, I mean, this first name, this is the guy that, you told me was the first guy. Um, and then this guy right here, this is the guy that you told me was the first, kiss, but here he is like down this list a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, well, you made your way back to him, this and that. And you can tell when you catch people in certain, I don't want to call it lies, I guess. But yeah, she did kind of lie, but when you catch people caught up in their story, um, you can see it in their face. And it was definitely written on her face. And I was just like, well, you could have just been honest with me, but you know, yeah, maybe I would have been upset about it at first, but like I said, I think to a degree, don't you, I don't want to say owe it, but don't, in some degree, don't you owe it to be some, like mostly honest about, your prior history? Now, on the relation of owing it, maybe, um, would it be fair? Or like, okay, you're trying to be honest. Now, don't you have to realize that in that realm of honesty, understanding that there might be a consequence that this person may not be comfortable with it, and they may, cut their ties, cut their losses, whatever, and just say, you know what, it was nice knowing you, but no more, kind of thing. So, uh, and there's been some times where I've been honest about. I mean, when I'm asked anyway, I don't just walk in with a resume and say, well, here's all my previous partners, and you can call this person for references about how. No, I don't do all that. Um, I mean, and I'm not saying I like to be asked about it, but most of the time, it comes up, and I assume it happens in most relationships that it comes up. Well, how many guys have you been with? If you're talking to, a girl, or the girl says, well, how many girls have you been with? And that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a number that's too high, to where you say, even though I really like this person, he's been with two girls before me, I can't deal with that. Like, I want a guy who's a virgin, and, I want to be the only woman that, he's ever been with. Some guys are like that. Some guys say, well, I only want to date virgins because I don't want to have anything that she can previously, measure me up against, kind of thing. I think in both genders, it kind of speaks to a little bit of an insecurity sometimes when that comes into play. I think the more secure within themselves type of people don't really care, but maybe some of them do, and they're just, looking out for themselves. But like I said, if you really like the person, does their previous history that has nothing to do with you have an effect on how you're going to look at this person? And is that fair? Because you could have a wonderful, fruitful, endearing, long lasting, relationship with this person until the end of your time. And that's the possibility of, you two being together. But does that prevent you from wanting to take it that to that level, that further down the road? So, I don't know what y'all think about that. Does it matter to you? Is there a number too high? Is there a number that is too low? I mean, like I said, like I saw the thing on TV where the guy said the girl was with 10 guys, and he was like, well, you're still a virgin. Like, as if, to say that she's not experienced enough for him to be dealing with. Like, is there a number that's too low? I mean, is that a possibility? Is that something that, folks out there have a hang up about? Like, Oh, I don't want to be with somebody unless they've already been around the block, 24 times. Uh, I just throw random numbers, out there. But at the same time, you know, are these the kind of things that can make or break a relationship when they have no bearing on the present or the future? Because I always think that only the present and what you want to build in the future with somebody should be the only things that matter. Now, there are certain things about the past that can come into play in a relationship. Like if you're a single parent, you're obviously bringing a kid to the table, or multiple kids, whatever the case is. Or you still have like a psychotic ex that just won't leave well enough alone, kind of thing. Like those are the kind of things of the past that can affect, the present or the future. But I'm talking about things that are done and spoken for and no longer have any bearing on your partner's current life, whether it's their mind state or their goals and what they want to achieve going forward for success, what have you. Um, so can those kind of things be overlooked to a degree? And I don't want to say overlooked as if it doesn't matter. I guess it does matter to some people, but does it really matter to the point where it keeps you from building a relationship with somebody? And like I said, is that fair? And then that's mainly like what it comes down to. Like, is it fair to hold somebody accountable for their past actions when they have no ties to it anymore? So those are the kind of things that were on today's topic. Obviously, let me know what you think. I always throw it out there to like, comment, subscribe. Um, However it goes, because I always like to see what people's mind states are about certain things. You don't want to have an unsuccessful relationship if you're going to be in one. So think about some of the things that it takes to try to build upon a successful relationship. Excuse me. And can you build upon the things that may have a negative connotation to it and build over those? Now, I don't want to say overlook, but can you build over those and move forward? Because if you overlook it, if you put stuff under the rug, you still got to walk under the rug. But if you build over something, or if you can remove it before you build over it, then the foundation becomes that much more solid. And who doesn't want to be on a solid foundation in a relationship? So those are the kind of things that are on today's topic. Let me know, chime in. I'm always here. Let me know. Peace.